Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, has built a doomsday bunker. It's buried and hidden in the Navajo desert. It's stocked with antibiotics, a hydroponic food system, and weapons. This is the same man racing to build artificial general intelligence, while now telling the world it's perfectly safe. So why prepare for catastrophe? To find out, I went through practically every interview, essay, podcast, panel, and speech he's ever given. Very few people know that in 2017, before he was in the spotlight and years before ChatGPT, Altman published blog posts with a chilling theory that directly contradicts what he says today. He wrote that the AI species he's creating will, in fact, lead to the end of the world as we know it. And his utopian vision is that we will be effectively assimilated into an AI-powered hive mind. And his old posts get even crazier. If there are two versions of Altman, one who reassures the public and one who prepares for the worst, which one should we believe? And what I found while digging wasn't just a single contradiction. It was a pattern, one that becomes more troubling the deeper you look. May 16th, 2023, Sam Altman sits in front of Congress, calmly insisting that AI is under control, that it's being built safely. It's a tool, not a creature.
But I now think we are very much building a tool and not a creature.
In the last 2 years, he repeats these lines over and over in interviews, policy papers, even in front of regulators. Meanwhile, OpenAI's latest marketing materials claim that AI won't cause real unemployment, which conveniently aligns with what the Trump administration wants to hear. But here's the problem. If you look in OpenAI's original charter, its core mission was to build artificial general intelligence that could replace basically all human labor. That's a direct contradiction, and Sam Altman helped write it. You see, the deeper you look, the more these contradictions show. Publicly, Altman projects calm. Privately, he's long claimed that superintelligent AI is the greatest threat to humanity's existence. Yet politicians are lapping up his words as though they're gospel, ignoring the cunning behind his actions. Paul Graham once said, "You could parachute Sam Altman into an island full of cannibals and come back in 5 years, and he'd be the king."
And if you look at Sam's statements some years ago, he sort of happily said in one interview, this stuff will probably kill us all. Now he's saying you don't need to worry too much about it. And I suspect that's driven by seeking after money.
Does that sound like a man who believes the public deserves the whole truth about the technology reshaping their lives? Or someone who knows how to tell the exact story the world wants to hear? I'm not sure, but if you look closely enough, you'll see the cracks. OpenAI's co-founder Ilya Sutskever once said behind closed doors, "We're definitely going to build a bunker before we release AGI." Any student of history will tell you, when someone writes down their warnings, take them seriously. People said Putin wouldn't invade Ukraine. People said the horrors of Hitler or Stalin were unpredictable. But that's not true. The blueprint was always there in the speeches, the manifestos, the early essays. Mein Kampf outlined the Holocaust in plain language. People just didn't believe it until it was too late. That's why looking at Altman's early writings matters. In 2017, long before the world had heard of ChatGPT, he published a blog post titled The Merge, and inside it are lines like these: "Unless we destroy ourselves first, superhuman AI is going to happen. Genetic enhancement is going to happen. And brain-machine interfaces are going to happen." It is a failure of human imagination and human arrogance to assume that we will never build things smarter than ourselves. And development of superhuman machine intelligence is probably the greatest threat to the continued existence of humanity. Altman's thoughts may seem intense and even exaggerated, but the thing is, he's not alone. The top 3 most cited AI scientists agree with him, at least on the greatest threat to humanity part. So do the heads of every major AI lab. And yet, what Sam Altman says now, in front of Congress, regulators, and the press, is very different. It's measured, reassuring, marketable. Now, you might think this is just hyperbole from a tech CEO trying to hype up his product. But that doesn't explain it, not fully. Because here's what we know for certain. Altman was sounding the alarm on AI years before OpenAI had a product to sell. And now that OpenAI is valued at $300 billion, his message has clearly shifted. But Why? Maybe Altman saw the stakes as far bigger than most people realized. Maybe he believed that the rise of superhuman AI can't be stopped, and that it was already underway. And if that's true, then there's only one logical conclusion. If you can't stop it, you have to steer it, or at the very least, survive it. Of course, we can't know for sure what Altman was thinking, but as I dug deeper into his writing, one quote stopped me cold. Our phones control us and tell us what to do when. Social media feeds determine how we feel, search engines decide what we think. Altman called this transformation the merge. It's his belief that humanity is facing a binary choice. Either we fuse with our machines, or we face extinction. And here's the worst part. Altman's timeline for this happening isn't some distant future scenario. It's a deadline that's rapidly approaching. But just how soon are we talking about? Sam Altman now says we will see AI surpass humans in almost every way in as little as 1 to 5 years. And again, I cannot stress this enough, but the top 3 most cited AI scientists, plus every single major head of an AI lab, agrees with him on this too. This timeline is no longer a fringe belief. It's the quiet consensus among top AI researchers. And the craziest thing is that just a few years ago, if you asked these same scientists about AI, they'd call it a tool, something we'd build, tweak, and ultimately control. But that belief is now dead. Because here's the truth, we don't build these systems anymore. It's more like we grow them. What I mean is, the systems we're creating now, like ChatGPT, aren't coded line by line. They're trained. And they've started doing things even their creators can't fully explain. So even Altman is questioning this.
Is this a tool we have built or a creature we have built?
Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, put it like this.
We designed the learning algorithm. That's a bit like designing the principle of evolution. But when this learning algorithm then interacts with data, it produces complicated neural networks that are good at doing things, but we don't really understand exactly how they do those things.
What we've produced in these big chatbots is it's like a new species that's very like us and very unlike a normal computer program.
I think it is a mistake to assume that they are human-like in their thinking or capabilities or limitations. I always try to think of it as an alien intelligence and not try to project my anthropomorphic biases onto it.
Let that settle for a second. The most influential person building these systems thinks of AI as an alien intelligence, and top researchers are bitterly arguing whether they may already be smarter than us. Geoffrey Hinton puts it even more starkly.
It's as if aliens had landed, but we didn't really take it in because they speak good English.
Or as the CEO of Microsoft AI, Mustafa Suleyman, said, "We are in the process of seeing a new species grow up around us." Remember, these are some of the most accomplished people in their fields. This isn't simple fear-mongering. Even policymakers are beginning to acknowledge this reality. David Sachs deleted these tweets after Trump appointed him as the administration's new AI czar. AI is a wonderful tool for the betterment of humanity. AGI is a potential successor species. A successor, not an assistant, not a tool, a replacement. But let's zoom out for a moment. Not to speculate, but to face what might already be in motion. If AI is becoming a new species, smarter, faster, with its own goals, then these warnings aren't paranoia. They're warning us, because we've seen this pattern before. Ilya Sutskever, the chief scientist of OpenAI, once said,
and I think a good analogy would be the way humans treat animals. When the time comes to build a highway between two cities, we are not asking the animals for permission.
Altman and some of the world's top scientists are worried history is about to repeat itself. Only this time, where are the animals? Sam Altman explains. If two different species both want the same thing, and only one can have it, in this case, to be the dominant species on the planet and beyond, they are going to have conflict. The other godfather of AI agrees.
What happens when there's a new species on this planet that has its own self-interests and it can surpass us if it wants on many domains? It can overpower us. Then what?
So how do we avoid becoming a footnote in our own evolutionary story? According to Sam Altman, there's only one path: merge with the machines. Not just metaphorically, but literally. The merge can take a lot of forms. we could plug electrodes into our brains, or we could all just become really close friends with a chatbot. In other words, we'd most likely have to re-engineer ourselves to survive. According to Altman, this could mean brain-machine interfaces, like Elon Musk's Neuralink. They're building chips you could implant into your brain to let you think faster. It could mean editing hundreds of genes in our brain cells to supercharge our intelligence beyond anything evolution gave us. Or it could mean something else that doesn't even exist yet. What form does that take? No one knows, not even Altman. But we do know that Altman directly claims this isn't just inevitable, but that it's already happening. The merge has already begun, and it's going to get a lot weirder. We will be the first species to design our own descendants. This probably cannot be stopped. But even that isn't the most disturbing thing he said. We can either be the biological bootloader for digital intelligence and then fade into an evolutionary tree branch, or we can figure out what a successful merge looks like. Let me make that brutally clear. The CEO of the most powerful AI company in the world thinks we have two options: merge with the intelligence he himself is creating, or go extinct. And in his own words, we only have 1 to 5 years to figure this out. Altman even once said that Terminator sci-fi scenarios of AIs going rogue keep him up at night. But the question remains, if less than a decade ago, Sam Altman was hellbent on warning us about our two options when it comes to AI, merge or die, why doesn't he say that anymore? OpenAI thinks they are in a global arms race. Slowing down might mean falling behind. Warning the world could mean tanking his investors' confidence, because if he really believed what he said 10 years ago, he'd have to act very differently. And maybe that's the scariest part. Maybe the reason Sam Altman isn't sounding the alarm is because he can't. Because the system he's a part of is too powerful to influence, even for him. His biggest competitor, the head of Google DeepMind, claims that no one company can unilaterally decide to stop an arms race. We need an international treaty or some kind of CERN for AGI, a pause button we could all reach if needed. Because we can't leave the future of the human species in the hands of a few technologists in San Francisco. This is why I spent hundreds of hours making a documentary on the most concrete, realistic scenario of how an AI could take over in the next few years. This isn't just a theory. These are the real concerns the godfathers of AI are sounding the alarm about. So if you want to understand the playbook before it's too late, watch this video next.